My next guest has been a vocal supporter of the MAHA movement and was there for the unveiling today. Joining me now is Vani Hari. She is the MAHA social media activist known online as the Food Babe. Great to have you, Vani, on the show. So the New York Times calls you, they call you the Taylor Swift of MAHA moms. And as I just said, millions of your followers know you as the Food Babe. How did you get involved in this whole campaign to clean up America's food?
You know, I've been working on this for over a decade. I was super sick as a child, and I hit rock bottom in my early 20s. I had endometriosis, I had an appendectomy, I had eczema, asthma, allergies, stomach issues, and it was the food I was eating. And I wish I had known what I know now about the food that I was eating, because as soon as I went from an ultra-processed food diet to a real food diet, everything changed. I went off every single prescription drug. I started to live a life that I never thought was possible. My brain was clearer. I became athletic. I started to excel at my job and do these things that I never thought I'd be capable of doing when I was basically walking around like a zombie. And this is why I actually ended up quitting my job to become a food activist full time, because I thought this is so important for everyone to recognize the truth about what's happened to our food system. We've been mass poisoned as Americans. We are in a chemical soup right now, and there's an amazing chart actually on page 35 of the MAHA report that shows you all the chemical exposures that are happening to the human body and our small children today, and the reason why they are going to live a less life expectancy than us as of today if we don't change the trajectory of where health is heading in this country.
Yeah, you said that you grew up eating fast food and that quitting it and finding out you were so sick from the fast food gave it your, quote, Scarlett O'Hara moment when you knew you needed to change. It really is that story you just told is a testament to you are what you eat.
It was absolutely extraordinary today to see President Trump and the highest levels of leadership coming out of the executive branch, this report that is detailing out the truth about the American food supply, calling out the chemicals that we're being exposed to, everything from artificial food dyes to titanium dioxide, that's a whitening agent that you'll find in Skittles,
yep.
BHT, which is an endocrine disrupting chemical that you find in the lining of cereal bags and other products, and then pesticides. Pesticides was talked about 15 different times in this report, and pesticides are a real concern. We use 24% of the world's pesticides, but we're only 4% of the population. 87% of kids that they tested by the CDC had glyphosate in their urine. Glyphosate has been implicated to cause cancer in court cases across America, and we are using these chemicals in abundance. We need to start looking at how do we reduce the toxic load on our bodies and how we can regain health. The fact that childhood cancer has increased by 40% since 1975 is a travesty.
You know, you bring up glyphosate. I'm glad you brought that up because it's an ingredient used in a pesticide called Roundup. Many American farmers use this pesticide. Members of Congress, when RFK Jr. was testifying before Congress last week, warned him, don't try and touch glyphosate. This will hurt our farmers. And RFK Jr. responded, quote, don't worry, we are not going to do anything to jeopardize that business model. It sounds like he's not going to insist they stop using this.
Well, I think what this report lays out is that there's multi-factors of why we are so sick. We're being exposed to chemicals at every end, whether it's the food additives we eat or the farming chemicals that are on the food. And unfortunately, you can't go to the grocery store and look at the ingredient list and see glyphosate. It's internal to the fruit or vegetable.
Right.
It's sprayed right before harvest. Before they harvest wheat and oats and beans in this country, it's sprayed right before. And even though that only constitutes about 3% of the load of glyphosate that's used in this country, it affects the human exposure up to 90%. So it's a common sense thing that...
Don't we need to get them to stop using that?
I think we need to look at ways that they can reduce their usage. And I think there's really amazing things that the Secretary of Agriculture could work with farmers and giving them other methods of regenerative farming and other things that are available to them and other tools and subsidies to allow them to start to convert their crops over so they don't have to use so much pesticides in their products.